welcome to episode 159 of In Touch with iOS, a podcast that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and related technologies. I'm your host, Dave Ginsburg, and my co-host, Warren Sklar, is here. How are you doing, Warren?
Doing excellent. Thank you for having me back after a week off.
Yes, glad you're back, and I was just back from vacation myself, and we had a little technical difficulties, so we're doing a second take of this show, but that's okay. But I'm so glad that Chuck Joyner has come back and joined us on the show. How are you doing, Chuck?
I'm great, David. Thanks for having me. It's good to see you guys as well.
Absolutely. And this wasn't planned, but what the heck? We might as well have a third guest this week.
He crashed the party.
He crashed the party, but hey, I'm always glad to have Mr. Guy Serle on the show. How you doing, Guy?
Hey, hello, everybody.
Good to see you.
It is. Thanks for having me ad hoc.
It's a premiere episode of The Desk, is what this is.
Yeah, that's right. This is
right.
actually the first recording using the new desk.
Okay, so I'm honored for you to have the first recording of your new desk. So
even though you don't talk through a desk.
No,
I was going to ask if there's something special about this desk. I've never heard of anybody having a recording
think
from
so
the new
either.
desk.
It took him like 2 weeks to do whatever he did there, so it's special. You know, it's special.
It is. So it's a very it's a special desk.
Happy to be the first one that you're recording with. So, lots of Apple news this week. Might as well just go jump right in and dig back into it here, and let's hope we don't crash again. But let's go here. First story was on Mac Rumors. The Apple had released the new MagSafe battery pack that provides a first look and showing the thickness and what it looks like and all that fun stuff. And it just was released this past week, and it's definitely an interesting device, to say the least. I'm trying to see if I have the right link here. I do. And it is priced at $99. It was in people's hands this week, and it attaches magnetically to the back of any iPhone 12, which has the MagSafe charging system. So 12 Pro, even with the case, and provides additional hours of battery life. It's got hard plastic. It's only white in color, which is interesting. But it is able to wirelessly charge the iPhone at up to 5 watts on the go, or up to 15 watts when the battery pack is connected to a 20 watt or higher power adapter. So it definitely interesting where Apple's going with this. And Warren, what do you think?
Yeah, it is white and not very attractive, and the $99 is mostly for the battery. If you remember, the case that came with it, the battery pack for the last few models were about the same price, so you're just skimping a little bit on the plastic, but it's the same price on that. But as far as the white goes, there are companies such as Nomad is selling a cover for the battery, where you could put a leather cover on it to match the case, which looks pretty nice. And then, basically, I don't think it's for me. Like you said, you didn't say it this time, but you said it last before on the crash.
Yeah,
so,
I don't think it is because the iPhone 12 Pro Max, like you, Chuck have.
Yeah, so it doesn't seem like anything we need desperately in our lives, but. But they've been around. These kind of things have been around since wireless charging. I still have one. I didn't bring it, but it looks exactly like it. It's a little bit smaller. It's black, and it charges actually by USB-C as well. And even though I bought it a few years ago, and it's basically that reusable sticky surface that if you wash after you wash it, it will stick back again. So it actually sticks to the phone and the cases really well. To be honest with you, I just like only $20-$30, and I bought 2 of them. And I'll put a link if I find it again. But basically, it's it's a battery pack that sticks to the back using stickiness instead of magnets.
MagSafe.
Yeah, so it was before MagSafe. I think it started with the iPhone 10 is what it was. So yeah, but if I was looking for, I did get the battery pack for the 11. I remember. So
I did too.
I didn't get it for 12. I thought maybe I would need something more for the with the betas, because that usually eats batteries. But since we've been locked down, it hasn't been an issue so much.
And then speaking of beta, this doesn't work currently with iOS 15 beta, as mentioned. Some people are saying, so there must be some code that's waiting to be put into iOS 15.
How could it?
What, for a battery?
For a battery, really.
But how could a MagSafe I mean,
good question. Good question. Because
did
the
it just
article here.
turn off wireless charging? Sorry, we just on iOS 15 we decided to take out the code that allows wireless charging. We'll put it back later. I mean, it's wireless charging. It's whatever.
Yeah,
I don't know.
there
That
must be
doesn't make
something
Yeah.
strange.
I saw one yesterday, as a matter of fact, actually in the wild. A friend of mine from work, who knows I do a lot of Apple stuff, he came over and he was like, I know you probably already have this, but check this out. And I looked at it, I was like, I don't even know what the hell that is. And he was like, it's the new battery pack. And it was like, So I took out my my iPhone SE2 and it started to charge it, but it didn't stick to it like it did.
Because you don't have the MagSafe.
You don't have
yeah.
MagSafe. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think,
it,
Chuck?
It charged it.
So for in your case, just get some duct tape.
Yeah.
I'm assuming this is not something you would get, Chuck, right?
No, I mean, listen. I think it's fine. I think there's some definite advantages here. That if you're carrying your phone in your purse or your pocket, this would seem from the photos I've seen that it would be a pretty easy thing to just have magnetically attach and top your battery off. For me, if I'm going to charge my phone, I usually just go through the Lightning port because that way you're getting the fastest, best charge you can possibly get. So the MagSafe thing is great, and at some point I think it'll be perfected. But for me right now, it's just not an option. So again, a nice case depending on nice battery, excuse me, for whatever your use case is. If it fits your use case, but just doesn't fit mine.
As far as the charging goes, I just want to mention that you said you would rather use Lightning into the phone to charge it because it's faster. In theory, what they're saying is if you plug this into the iPhone and then put the battery pack on it, it charges the phone and then will trickle over to the battery pack after that. And then vice versa. If you charge the battery pack, it will charge the battery pack first and then trickle over to the phone. I think is what it does. So.
But I was talking more about like the little portable batteries. I mean, I know that one of my favorites, the Jackery, has been discontinued.
Yeah.
This travel card battery, some of those little things that look almost like a lipstick case or a pack of cigarettes, and you get a really small short Lightning cable, so it doesn't take up that much again in your pocket or your purse. And now I'm getting the best, fastest charging that I can get to top off my phone when I need it. So. Just the use case has to drive the product for you.
There's so many chargers. I think Dave and I actually bought the same USB-C charger a couple of years ago. I remember that the nice big. Who made it? Was it Murphy or I forgot who made it, but I still have it. So there's a lot of good chargers out there. So this is more of a. I think this is more if you really want to have something that tiny, I guess. And it supposedly only will charge the max up to 75%. Is that what they said? It won't give it a full charge. It will give the 12 a full charge and the mini a full charge, but the max won't even fully charge it. Yeah,
because that's a higher output battery. There was somebody then on Twitter that posted in this article, Stephen Russell, actually shows that the AirPods Pro wireless will charge with this battery too. So it appears that it will work if you really wanted to use it as a charging battery.
It's
just here in the background.
It's cheap, so it's going to charge.
It's cheap charging. Yeah, so that makes sense. A
MagSafe puck will charge the AirPods. I don't know if you know that, but it does.
Right. Yep. So anyway, let's move on here. And next story here is about Instagram. This was a 9 to 5 Mac. Instagram for iOS has introduced a sensitivity content control. They announced a new feature called Sensitivity Content Control that lets users above 18 years old choose whether they want to see more or less sensitive content. The feature is available under the Instagram settings page, account sensitivity control, and users can choose to allow, limit, or limit even more. Apparently Instagram is giving more control over the photos and videos that you see on the Explore page, because you probably can see some explicit things here. Starting to see some changes in social media of having a little more control. Chuck, what do you think of this?
It's Thursday, guys, and so maybe I'm just burned out or cranky or something. But I would love to know in this case, and in just about all the others, how many of these sensitivity things, how many of these little protections that they build in really get used. I mean, honestly, for me, it's more trouble than it's more trouble to go in and set this stuff to say, do I want full nudity, frontal nudity, partial nudity, no nudity, than just okay, there it is. Skip the photo and move on. So I look at this thing. It's like this looks really good politically, and I'm sure that that's one of the things that drives it. And there probably are people out there that are really disturbed by some of this stuff. But at the end of the day, I personally can't get excited about it.
It's social media, The thing is, every time I see, and I've seen similar things like this for Facebook. I've seen similar things like this for Twitter, and each and every time, the first thing that comes to my mind is who's determining what's sensitive, what sensitive content is, and is there any kind of agenda behind what they're saying is sensitive or not? Right. And honestly, if half the things that come out on social media bother you, you probably shouldn't be on social media. That's my feeling about it.
Right there with you, Guy.
Yeah.
What do you think,
world's
Warren?
a tough place. Yeah, my son does the Instagram, or at least he did. Maybe it's not cool anymore, so I don't know. And he just turned 18. So I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing. I doubt he'll even know it's there. I could ask him if he even notices it, to be honest with you. But yeah, I don't. I think the answer to Guy's question, I'm assuming it's some kind of AI that looks for maybe language. I'm sure it could, do voice recognition for bad words, for sure. Maybe they could do, some kind of photo recognition for, body parts. So I'm sure that's involved. But yeah, I don't have much else to say about that.
Okay. A couple of stories I want to talk about. Automatic, the owner of Tumblr and WordPress.com, buys Pocket Casts. And Pocket Cast has a new owner, Automatic, who runs WordPress.com and recently purchased Tumblr. That would be quite a difference. Yeah, that would be quite a difference there. It acquired Pocket Cast, the well-regarded podcast app. The blog announced that the purchase didn't offer much in a way of a preview, but it did tease potential future integrations. This was on The Verge. Pocket Cast started about in 2010, and it was sold to NPR and a group of other public media groups 8 years later. It's been well received. I use it all the time, and it was interesting to see how it works because they have a great way of organizing podcasts, I think, and they also even introduced a standalone Apple Watch app, so you can listen to podcasts if you so choose with your Apple Watch. Chuck, we talked about this on Mac Voices Live yesterday, but I thought this is a good topic as far as a podcast app goes, and I know you asked us which ones we use, and I think this is good.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because Automatic now owns Tumblr. They now own Pocket Cast, of course. They also bought Day One, the journaling app. So they're building an interesting little ecosystem here of web publishing and now consumption pieces, and they're reaching in and buying quality things, and I think it's interesting to just see. I feel like there's a product or a service or an architecture or a platform in mind that maybe we just haven't figured out, and it also. The simple fact is that there was a time that there were a lot of podcatchers out there, and they have slowly kind of slid down. And, a lot of them still work, but they aren't necessarily maintained. And so you can probably count on one, maybe 1.5 hands, what the major ones are. And so when somebody scoops up one of them, as big as podcasting has become, I think it does deserve some consideration and an examination of what they're going to do with it and how and why. So I'm anxious to see, because Automatic, they've done some amazing things with WordPress. I mean, WordPress runs a substantial part of the web, And so this just is one more arrow in their quiver.
Yeah, and it's interesting seeing with Tumblr too. You know, where is Tumblr going? Because Tumblr just kind of took a nosedive, and
that was going to be my point. I didn't think they were so relevant anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, Tumblr. I mean, okay, this is a family-friendly show, so I only go so far, but Tumblr really fell out of favor when they started taking off the sexually explicit content.
Right.
But it remained a very decent publishing platform. It had just it had kind of shifted over into that focus, and when they knocked the legs out from under that, then a lot of people just forgot about Tumblr. But I had a Tumblr blog for a while that was not sexually explicit. Let's be clear about that.
Sure it wasn't, Chuck.
But that said, but it was a decent platform. You didn't have a great deal of customization, but if you wanted a presence on the web, you could get it and get it in pretty short order and pretty easily. So that's why I keep saying I feel like Automatic has something in mind.
They must. So
I mean, they also own WordPress, that's basically
WordPress.com. Let's
thing.
Yeah, well, WordPress.
You can get a free WordPress site. So if you can get a free WordPress site, why would you bother with Tumblr? What is so special about Tumblr that makes it that much different as a CMS?
Isn't one more video centric than the other?
I think you could argue that, Warren, but my impression, and I admit it's been a while since I played with Tumblr, but Tumblr really didn't give you that many options. I mean, WordPress, even if you take the free version, still gives you an awful lot of options and a lot of back end that makes it powerful, but it also makes it a back end. Tumblr just gave you a very, very limited back end, limited number of customizations, and that was its appeal, I think, for a lot of people.
Yeah. Now, Warren, do you use a podcatcher at all? I mean, like I said, a podcast is my choice.
I use the Apple one.
Apple Podcast,
unless it's the last beta has not been kind to the podcast app, so I've been switching over to Overcast here and there because I have it. I think I paid for it once. But there's definitely a bug now with the current beta where it doesn't always open. It opens to a white screen and it doesn't work. So, usually I'll just use the Apple one.
Okay. Well, you use a podcatcher?
I mostly just use the. Is my mic better now? By the way,
much better.
Okay, sorry about that.
For some reason, you're on number 23 instead of number 26.
No, it switched over to my AirPod Pros. I have no idea why.
That's what I thought. Go ahead.
I usually just use the Apple one.
Apple Podcasts. Okay.
Yeah,
that seemed to be the consensus.
It's got. Sorry about that. It's got everyone's podcast on it, just like all the other ones do. So it really comes down to, how do you prefer some other application's UI? Do you prefer some other way that application lets you discover new content? And if that other app does it for you, then okay, that's fine. I'm not going to fight you over it. I'm fine with the Apple.
Fight me.
Fight me.
There's so many. All right, let's go ahead and move on. I found this absolutely hilarious. I wanted to at least call it out here. Jon Stewart, he had a promo for his upcoming Apple TV Plus show, making fun of the billionaire space race. He posted this video on Twitter. He's got a new show called The Problem with Jon Stewart, which is set to launch in September, his first time returning since The Daily Show. This 3-minute video was shared on Twitter, and it features a comedy skit of tech company billionaires and space aficionados, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, and Richard Branson. So you have to check it out. It's absolutely hilarious. And Bezos is being played by Jason Alexander, and a mop takes the role of Richard Branson, and Tracy Morgan's also in the show. So you got to check it out. And the reason I bring this up is it's really exciting to see that Apple is really jumping in and getting some amazing shows. Of course, we know Ted Lasso is going to be premiering as we record this tomorrow. Can't wait to see the first episode, the season 2 premiere. Guy, what do you think of this? I absolutely love Jon Stewart. He's just hilarious.
I'm actually not a huge Jon Stewart fan, but the fact that that someone has taken a humorous look at all these very, very wealthy people going up into space.
Yeah.
But that's fine with me. Having not Elon Musk, it was
Richard Branson.
Yeah, it was. Well, and frankly, with all the stuff he was doing with Virgin, it's not like he was I can't even think of the word I'm looking for. He's been doing like Explorer stuff for a really, really long time.
Right.
But Bezos, on the other hand, his whole thing is like, well, should I sell books or should I sell something else? That's been his whole effort in exploration. And the thing that I found funny is because I actually watched that live, and there were so many people in the particular YouTube channel that I was watching that was like, don't come back. I was seeing that a lot.
I know.
So
I'm stuck out there.
Yeah. Go find Musk's Tesla, and just kind of hang out with the astronaut in that for a while. So I am actually very, very excited, and I'm happy that these people are putting so much time and effort into space. Putting aside all the the billionaires space club for a minute. I actually crunched some numbers, and when you look at how much it costs to put up a single space shuttle mission, which was like $1.5 billion, as compared to a Falcon 9 launch, which is around, I think, 65 million, and only holds like 5,000 kilograms less than what the space shuttle could put up. So it was like a factor of 400% less, more than that, for low Earth orbit, and like 25% of the cost of going to the ISS. So bring it. I'm ecstatic that there's been a lot more effort being put into space.
Are we talking about Jon Stewart? Or
no, I want to spin this back just to Jon Stewart.
Okay.
But I do appreciate your space commentary, for sure.
He crunched the numbers and everything.
That's right. That's what you get for having me on the show.
Jon Stewart.
Okay.
I did not see the promo, but it sounds funny. I'm going to watch it.
Yeah, you should check it out.
I kind of like him. Just fun fact: he went to a high school right next to the town over from us. So I think a couple of my friends actually met him a few times because he's around here. And the other thing with that is he's starting to tape next week. They started asking if people wanted to come.
Oh, really?
So yeah. So they'll be.
Where are they filming it?
New York City. So
Yeah.
But basically, it comes in September.
Woodstock,
is that what it comes?
September. Yeah, Woodstock.
So I mean, I found that interesting because he usually does. His daily show was
it was live.
topical and live and topical, basically of the day. If you're recording 2 months in advance, it's going to be hard to make fun of the news of the day, 2 months from now. So I don't know how that's going to work.
We'll see how that is. And any thoughts, Chuck, before we move on?
I find it deeply disturbing that I agree with a lot of what Guy said.
A lot of people say that.
Did you crunch the numbers too?
No, I didn't crunch the numbers, but I guess to keep it on topic, I'm not a Jon Stewart fan as well.
Okay.
I think he's done some really clever, interesting things. There's no question about his popularity. So this has got to be good for Apple TV, and therefore for Apple. It seems like there are very few things I think that are sacred with Jon Stewart. So the fact that he would pick on this makes perfect sense.
Absolutely.
I don't necessarily agree with it, and that's starting to go down a space commentary that we won't go.
Yeah, let's go ahead and move on. Let's go ahead and move on. I found this interesting. This was in iPhone hacks. AirTag helps man recover wallet on the New York subway a day after losing it. Apple's new launched AirTag had become an instant hit, and users have recounting stories on how the AirTag has helped them find their stuff. And this gentleman, William Liu, tells a story about how the AirTag helped him track his wallet on a New York City subway system, which I still wonder how it fit in his wallet, a day after it went missing. He lost his wallet while returning from a concert in the early hours. It was highly unlucky he was going to find it in a public transit system, but he was able to be in luck, and the AirTags found his lost wallet.
How is this a headline? The headline is AirTag does what it's supposed to do.
Yeah, yes, exactly.
So
Well, did the guy who stole the wallet, did he still have it?
I don't think it was stolen. I think it was just.
I know, I'm kidding.
It was lost, and he found it. Yeah. So no,
There's all different kinds of lost.
What stands out to this is, the AirTag is doing what it was supposed to do, and he got extremely lucky. It's just like all the feel good stories we hear about Apple Watch. Well, this is this first one I've seen for the AirTag that it worked out. So, Chuck, what do you think of this?
That's an interesting point, David. I hadn't really thought about it that way, that this is the first time that we've seen something like that. But I also agree with Warren. It did what it's supposed to do, so it shouldn't be a surprise. Maybe the fact that the wallet was still somewhere with the AirTag in it, that it could be found, might be the biggest surprise of the whole story.
New York.
In New York, yeah.
What a town. Gotta love it.
Yeah, it was tucked under that electric rail right down there. No, that's not a good idea. But yeah, I think we're going to see more of these. Probably they'll be a little more offbeat as it goes along. But it's good publicity for Apple.
Yeah, Guy, do you have AirTags?
Sorry, me?
Do you have any AirTags?
No, I don't have it.
Okay, so then you can't experience like the rest of us have. I mean, you have some, right, Chuck?
You can't talk about these things, Guy, because you have no idea what it does.
Yeah. I have opinions on everything.
We know, Guy. We know.
Yes, we know.
The thing with the AirTags, real quick, is it has to be findable, and that's Subway is. You think a Subway, there's a good possibility of not being maybe not near a phone, or at least near a phone with service, because that could be it's got to communicate somehow. I think in the stations they have the Wi-Fi, so that's probably how
which probably helped.
Yeah. Yep.
So
like
right.
if your wallet fell to the bottom of the lake, then you're not finding your AirTags. That's what that
no, that'll probably be
unless a scuba diver has Wi-Fi.
That's fine.
Good. You never know. All right. Last story here. Let's move on. In Mac rumors, iOS and Android activations are now split evenly in the U.S., research shows. Activations of iOS and Android devices are now evenly split in the United States, with little sign of movement towards either platform dominating over the past 2 years, according to data sourced by Consumer Research Intelligence Partners. The CIRP estimates iOS and Android each had 50% of the new smartphone activations in the year ending this quarter. iOS share of new smartphone activations climbed from 27 to 2020, but now remained at its peak for the second consecutive year. So I guess really the moral of this is the fact that it's good to see that you got competition. You're making you're making both Apple and Android developers stay and innovate and have great phones and have choices of which ones you want. What do you think, Chuck?
I think the real story here is not iOS versus Android. It's iOS versus which of the other manufacturers, because Apple's the only one with iOS. So you've got 5, 6, 7, 8 manufacturers more, competing against iOS, and they're running neck and neck. Yeah. Well, good for them. We can, listeners to this show know that all the arguments about privacy, security, feature sets, all that. So if you are comfortable going down a dark alley at 2 a.m, then by all means go to Android, and if that doesn't appeal to you, go to iOS. But what again, it kind of goes back to the first battery story. Whatever the use case is for you, and of course the affordability is also a consideration.
What do you think, Guy?
This should actually, I know this is going to sound weird, but this should probably actually be kind of alarming for Apple. with all of the current talk about investigations into monopolies and all the rest of that. Back when Apple was at 10 to 25% for people to say, well, Apple is a monopoly, it had absolutely no weight. But if they're at 50% of the total market in the US, well, then it starts looking a little not as good as it did before. And the fact that the major Android phone makers are splitting a smaller and smaller market basically means that they're going to do everything they can to cut costs, which will make the phones even worse than what they used to be.
Yeah.
So I can't see this as, putting market share aside, I can't see this as a positive for Android for any reason. And I'm sure Google has to be very, very concerned at this point, especially considering that you've got one of the bigger Android makers, Samsung, is kind of going off on their own with some features that really aren't available on the other phones, like the DAX desktop system, for example, which I think Apple should have done 5 or 6 years ago, but that's a whole different story. I think that Apple should be concerned with all of the legal maneuvering that's going on behind the scenes.
I agree. Wait, any thoughts, Warren?
Yeah, just keep in mind that this is just for the U.S., but outside the U.S., Android is definitely more popular everywhere else. I would think almost everywhere. I mean, certainly Europe, certainly in China, it's definitely probably like 80-20, I would guess, or something like that. But I've said it before, competition is good. Without crappy Android phones, we wouldn't have good Apple phones because they have to make them better than the competition. So the better, as Apple fans, we need to be technology fans, and we need to make sure that products are innovating so they could outperform each other. Otherwise, they become stagnant. So it's good to have a choice, and it's good that Android's still out there, and they're kind of compete with each other. And as Chuck says, iOS is better if you want the privacy, but a lot of people don't care about it. A lot of people don't have the money to spend on the Apple devices. A lot of people so we care more about our devices and probably our privacy than the average person. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
All right,
Warren. David, I want to just touch on something Warren said, because I think it's a really interesting point. That as technology fans, as Apple fans, we're technology fans. Yeah, but I'm a technology fan, but I'm a fan of Apple because of the quality of what they put out and the thoughtfulness. And it seems for some reason we're going to go back and beat on the battery story earlier. That's an okay device. It's not an oh my god I can't wait to get my hands on a device, but for the right people it's fine. There are plenty of products out there that Apple makes. Now I better take that back. There are some products that Apple makes a competitive product, and I would not choose the Apple product. I would go with somebody else's because of price, feature set, whatever for my use case. Mm-hmm. So I don't think that we're as Apple fans, we all self-identified that way, but I don't feel like I'm an Apple fan because I'm an Apple fan. I'm a technology fan, and I'm a fan of Apple because they have some of the best technology solutions for the devices that I want.
Oh yeah, and I agree with that. And my only point was, if there's a device, I've seen devices that are not Apple, like Windows laptops. I've seen a few Android phones that are they're made well. They look nice. They might have some features that are better than others. But you have to appreciate that when somebody makes a good product. As a technology person, you might choose that over the Apple product, like you said. But generally, it's good to see. As an IT person, it's good to see high quality, good devices, and to me, I get excited, seeing people coming out with something innovative and good quality.
Absolutely. All right, let's go ahead and move on to topics this week. As we always talk about each week, what's going on in beta. iOS 15 is still on beta 3. It's still going. And one thing that kind of stood out this week is they did make some changes to the notifications. And Warren, being our beta guy, did you notice any differences as they're talking about this article we have in Mac Rumors about the notifications in iOS 15?
I didn't. I didn't read the article yet, and I haven't noticed anything different with it, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, quite.
The only thing I know that was a big change is I don't know if you should have it, but the Safari change was a big one.
Yeah, I thought that they had made some changes to that. So go ahead and if you want to share that with us.
I think that was the biggest change, to be honest with you. They moved the Safari design change in Safari and also on the Mac. Had the floating address bar on the bottom. And people hated that, so they reverted it back to the top, or at least customizable, where you can choose the difference. So that's the big change, and been listening to a couple podcasts about it, and it seems like most people really did hate the old the new design of the floating. I actually did not like it either. I found it kind of confusing. Definitely at first, you're like, what tapping the top of the phone trying to get an address bar. Took me about 5 minutes to find it. Again, like anything, anything new you have to get used to. Once you get used to it, I'm sure it's fine, but people don't feel like getting used to it. But yeah, that's the only thing. That's the only thing I really noticed, to be honest with you. All the bugs are still there. It's been actually really solid, to be honest with the betas. I have 2 apps that don't work, but it's been pretty good.
Okay. I know our friend Jeff Gamet did complain about Safari pretty extensively when it first came out, so it's probably a good thing that happened. Chuck, you haven't heard any other things? Have you heard anything other things that put the race of Safari that people complain about?
I've just read the articles, David, that say that Apple made a mistake and they listened and they're moving backward. I wanted to run the beta and just never got around to it. Or excuse me, the technology preview. Pardon me, because I'm not a beta person.
Right.
So I when it comes out, that's when I'll take a look at it and see.
Sure.
And, adjust or not. There are plenty of other browser options out there if Apple does something that you just absolutely can't stand.
Right.
So
people lose their mind over nothing, to be honest with you. But
they do.
Yeah.
So, but that's the way it goes. So, Guy, any thoughts on this before we move on?
Yeah, I've got the macOS beta on my MacBook Pro, not on my production machine.
Right.
And when I looked at Safari, it just seemed to be more the same. I mean, it's got some tweaks to it, and it displays it a little bit differently, but it's still the same thing that it was before. If it had happened last year, we would have been used to it by now, basically.
True. All right. Other thing that's in beta, which they've never done until now, is you can be extremely brave and install Apple's beta firmware on an AirPods Pro.
Even I'm not doing that. So
that's why I threw this out here. Is I wanted to see if you were gonna go down that road, Warren.
I've already committed to the watch, and I'm not gonna potentially break devices at this point. I did the HomePod once or twice, and that was fine. But that's a little concerning too. But the beta is a little dicey putting on things that don't have a screen or buttons to revert back.
Yes.
So So
especially with the steps, and I've got a link in the show notes from Mac Rumors and what you have to go through, and you have to be a developer. You can't. This isn't public beta. To have to go through, and you have to involve Xcode, then it's pretty extreme.
It's pretty bad. Go ahead.
Well, Mike, what kind of beta firmware would there be in AirPods Pro? I mean, what is it going to do? Is it going to
probably related to spatial audio or something?
Yeah, it is spatial audio.
I guess, but do I really need anything that bad?
No.
Brain implants. I think it reads the brain waves from what I'm reading here.
Oh, okay. Well, that's exciting.
So a blank verse for me.
Yeah.
So it can send my brain patterns right back to Apple. Good.
Yeah, basically, it's reading. It's pretty much it's scanners right now. Basically, is what they're doing, scanning everything. So.
Yeah. So for once,
I'm just
Warren
happy that my
agrees.
AirPods finally work on Bluetooth.
Yeah.
With my M1, I'm not that concerned about beta.
So for once, I got Warren to admit that it's something he won't install in beta. So
I like my AirPods. I don't, I would be sad if they didn't work. So I'm gonna do that.
So for the version that everybody is using now, iOS 14.7 was released. Public finally is at the final version, and they released it after the public beta, which was going on for quite a while. It was like, gosh, there was like was there like three or four versions before they finally released it. So biggest thing that stands out for 14.7, and I highly recommend that everybody that's listening, you should be updating this. And this for alone should be the reason. They had the big Wi-Fi SSID bug that would disable the Wi-Fi module on your iPhone. Ooh boy!
That's
so
crazy.
That bug could be forever, right? The bug can be triggered even if your iPhone came near a Wi-Fi network with a specific set of characters. So.
It wasn't forever. All you had to do was reset network settings and it fixed it. But
yeah, it was still a pain. But the other thing really was that they had to release it because of the MagSafe battery we talked about earlier. That provides support for using that accessory, and then it added HomePod timers in the HomePod home app. Chuck, have you seen anything that really stand out for you for 14.7? I'm assuming you've already updated it.
I have not.
Oh, you're not. Oh, wow.
So everybody go to Chuck's house and create an ID, Wi-Fi ID of whatever.
That's right.
No, I'm still, unless there's an absolute imminent bug that I think I'm in danger of, I still am one of those that wants to wait just a couple days. Just because I want to see. Now it's Thursday. This was released Monday, so yeah, I'll be updating tonight or tomorrow. But I just there are too many times that things come out, and usually because the news cycle has changed so much,
something wrong.
Yeah, just a little something that and like the next story that Dave's going to reference. It's just one of those. That's one of those little annoying bugs that it won't prevent me from updating, but it's kind of. That sort of makes my point that, there could be something wrong. I want to let you guys find out about it. And then I decide whether it's worth the trouble or not.
No, Warren. Warren will never, he'll never be on it. Yeah, he's way ahead.
I get sad now when they release updates to the current version of iOS because
for the hoi polloi.
Yeah.
I've been doing this for months. I don't know where you've been.
You peasants with the iOS 14 on your devices. You don't know what I got with this.
I'm on iOS 16, and it doesn't even exist yet.
I don't even think I'm doing anything great with iOS 15 that you're not doing with iOS 14 at this point, to be honest with you, or whatever. So.
Yeah, what Chuck was talking about is there was a bug preventing iPhones with Touch ID to unlock the Apple Watch. Automatically, that's extremely annoying because I love that feature. The fact that I don't have to unlock my Apple Watch as soon as I have my iPhone next to it and it unlocks. So there was a bit of a bug in the iOS 14.7 update for Touch ID users. Face ID it isn't affecting, but so there's that, and then. And the other interesting thing was, in a rare move, Apple did not release iPadOS 14.7 on the same day. They always have done that. They've released both versions the same day. They released it the next day, which was yesterday as we record this. So iOS 14, iPadOS 14 was released. And the biggest thing that stands out, which I think is not a big thing to me, is allowing 2 Apple Card users to share one account with a combined credit limit. In fact, that's for both iOS and iPadOS. Other than that, I don't seeing too much in the way of major changes with iPadOS 14.7. But this is probably going to be the final version, barring any incremental updates with they find any problems.
Maybe a security update.
security update or anything like that. And same thing with Apple with WatchOS. There's nothing really to really talk too much about, and tvOS there really wasn't much to talk about either. So, and then I also have a link here in the show notes so that the actual security content. There's quite a long laundry list of security fixes. If you're interested, we don't need to really hash through that too much here. So, now Apple Music, on the other hand, with spatial audio, the spatial audio feature, they're saying that that will not work if you have if you have an iPhone XR, if you have an iPad, or if you have an iPad Mini. Very strange.
All iPads?
Yeah. No, iPhone 10. iPhone XR was the only iPhone. So that's interesting. Are we experiencing some freezing here, guys? Or is it me?
No, I'm good.
Yeah. We're all
okay.
Well,
Something's getting wonky with me again. Let's hope it stays connected.
Well,
Let's through. Come on.
yeah.
It's saying my internet is unstable. Okay. All right. Well, let's go ahead and move on. Yeah, it is definitely going to be interesting to see where that goes. The rumor I wanted to talk about real quick is the iPad Mini, which is going to feature a mini LED display. That is going to be interesting as well.
Every year they say that it's going to happen. Every year they're going to buy it and want it. I've been wanting that for about every year they said it's going to happen. It never does. So I would love to be honest with you.
I'm with you, Warren. I love my iPad Mini. I mean, I love my iPad Pro, but I also love my Mini, and so I haven't done an upgrade in that. In fact, I don't think I have the most recent version because it just wasn't enough of an upgrade. But I would love to see them turn that into a little powerhouse machine.
Yeah,
I'm sure it'll have a powerhouse price, but spec it out and let's do this right. And I think it could become a new favorite iPad.
Yeah, I had the 1 through 5, and I sold the 5 not that long ago. But love the minis, and I've seen they're Android, but I've seen iPad Mini size Android tablets with a nice LCD all around the screen, and it's hot. It's something I would definitely want to see on iOS. Have an all screen like LED or OLED or something. Yeah, that'd be great.
I definitely think the Mini is there's a future with the Mini.
I would buy it. So if it came out, I would definitely get it. So
don't you pretty much buy them all anyway?
Yeah. I can't. I had 2 iPads a couple of times, and eventually that's usually when I sell things to buy something else. I'll sell one iPad off because you really don't need 2 iPads. So. That's usually the first to go. So if they come out with a new Mini, I'll probably sell the Pro, maybe to get the Mini. I don't know. We'll see.
All right. Other topic I want to talk about here is this was an interesting article. This was in Apple World today that Apple actually filed a patent, and a future Apple TV set-top box may replace your cable box. So they did file a patent for a generic streaming media device configured as a set-top box. So they could be eyeing a future Apple TV set-top box as it would replace the cable box, and this isn't the first such filing of a patent from Apple as far as this goes. But I just thought we talked a little bit about this on Mac Voices Live as far as cable boxes and such, but I would really love to have an Apple TV as a box that would also drive other content besides just the streaming content. Wouldn't you, Chuck?
I'll be right back. I need to go get my credit card because I will put my credit card down to this right now. I mean, I would love to see Apple's design team, tackle this and make it a lot more usable. And you're right, we did have a discussion about that the other night, and I personally had some challenges with 2 of the different streaming TV interfaces, and Apple TV may not be perfect, but it is so much better than some of the others, and I would love to see that perfection or that that superiority translate over to the cable box part of it. So yeah, I'll pre-order right now.
Yeah, oh, me too. And I just, it just took so long for us to get a new Apple TV. I mean, we just got it finally. They just released the new ones just not too long ago, and so I just don't want to get. I think we're going to get disappointed if we really put our hopes on this actually comes out. Is what I'm thinking. Warren, Guy, you thinking of anything that we want, like as far as having this as a set-top box?
I thought I predicted something like this a couple months ago when we talked on one of our shows too. I think when we didn't know what the new Apple TV was going to be like, I kind of mentioned that it might be something like that. But Apple, not just Apple, but the streaming services need to definitely be easier to navigate, and they need to have something where it's a universal remote. It's a universal system that can connect to anything out there. And if you have cable, then you can use the Apple TV and basically have one master guide where you can see everything you could get. The little side note is that they announced today or yesterday that FiOS is going to get the app on the Apple TV. Wow. So that's a start. So I think I'm going to try it because I've been wanting to use the Apple TV as the main device for a long time. I just can't because the wife watches cable all the time. So I'm wondering if this could be an alternative. If I could get the FiOS to work on there, and if I could get the other apps to work, I could bring back my HomePod speakers back upstairs and have a party.
Cable TV is dying.
Yep.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Guy, that would be my concern with this ever happening. I mean, as much as I would love to see it happen, they will fight this tooth and nail because they all are staking out their territory and trying to have you believe. And I think I personally believe the technology people see through it. I'm not sure that the average consumer sees through it. That they just think, okay, this is what I've got to do to watch what I want to watch on my TV. And I don't know how we educate
Here's the
them.
thing: we're on the cusp of cord cutting becoming the norm, as compared to you go back 5 years ago, hardly anybody was cord cutting, and now it's everywhere. And when you throw in the fact that not only are cable TV companies basically just becoming ISPs, broadcast companies as well are moving as quickly as they possibly can to streaming services, because they know also that the broadcast TV as a medium is dying almost as quickly as cable television. So the future for television is likely going to be applications, which is why I was actually, and we talked about this on Mac for the Future, I was actually very surprised that Apple updated the Apple TV as a box. Yeah. Once they released Apple TV as an application on, and they put it on every single freaking smart TV that was out there, as well as Roku and some of the other streaming boxes. That's very telling to me that even Apple, who has always said that the Apple TV as a box was a hobby, that their main push is to get Apple TV Plus as a content service onto as many platforms as they possibly can. And I think the only reason why they keep the Apple TV around is because there are so many people who still want to use it as their main box. But I think that Roku is probably going to be one of the last ones standing as far as a separate box. But most everyone else, I think, because all of these TVs are basically running Linux and applications off of that. So that's where TV is going. It's going to be Apple. You basically are creating your own cable TV package using applications.
Right. All right.
Yeah, I agree with you, Guy. I do think, though, I mean, hindsight's 2020, right? It's too bad that Apple didn't do more with the Apple TV and instead of a hobby.
When they could have.
Yeah, but on the other hand, I kind of don't know how they would have, because the whole concept of streaming and cord cutting was still so new that people didn't really understand, what they were looking for. And now I think we have a much better idea of what we would like the experience to be. And of course, who would have ever predicted that, you have all those apps running all these streaming services from the major folks that we know, like NBC with Peacock, and also the
Paramount
Pluto
Network.
TVs and the Paramount networks, and things that you've never heard of are, they're running on our TVs. I know that the AXS network has an app, and if you are patient and sit there and work with it, you can get it to play the content if you want, but it's terrible.
Yeah.
Here's what I think about that though. Like, if it was reversed and we started off life with the apps, all these different apps, instead of cable TV, we would have said, hey, wouldn't it be great if we could get all this just in like one
Bundle, have them all bundled together.
one thing together, and Comcast and Verizon's like, hello, that's what, So the cable companies are doing what we ultimately want to see on streaming services.
Well, honestly, Warren, I think what's really happening is it's going from being under the thumb of cable television providers to being under the thumb of Netflix and Hulu and Disney Plus and all of the big streaming services that are currently bundling all of these other services along with their main apps.
But cable's going to win because of convenience, because the average user is rather spend an extra $20 to not have to launch 20 apps every day and to watch their TV. The average user,
your wife.
But the problem is it keeps getting more and more expensive. My wife.
Well,
it keeps getting more and more expensive for less and less functionality.
But the streaming is becoming pretty expensive too. I mean, we just did a trial for Hulu because we're watching Handmaid's Tale. But if you start adding up all the services like the Netflix and the Hulus and the CBS, you're getting close. You're getting close. You're getting close enough where the cost benefit is starting to get thinner, right? So at that point,
in my case, we were on Verizon Fios, and along with 100 gig up and down internet speed and telephone for reasons, we were spending like $240 a month. And I was like, okay, you know what? Enough. When we got our last cable television increase, I was like, okay, that's enough. I can't stand it anymore. So I got Disney Plus. I'm still on Apple TV Plus for free. And I got the higher tier of Hulu. And there's a service, and I can't remember the name of it, that gives you your local television stations.
Locast.
Yes, Locast.
Right. Pay them $5.
Yeah.
$5. And it was like, okay, you know what? That Hulu is giving me between Hulu and ESPN, I got all the sports that I want. With Apple TV Plus and Hulu and Netflix, I've got more content than I could ever possibly watch. And there's some individual little services like the Paramount Plus that I get because I'm a Star Trek fan. It's
all good until an average person like my wife finds something that she can't get on the streaming service that she can't get on cable that she wants to see, and that's the problem. And it's happened to me where I've done where I have all the streaming services and there's a movie I want to see, and I'm paying for all these streaming services, and none of them have what I want to see. So I go to torrent because I'm like, there's no way else to get this at this point. So it's like,
sorry, excuse me.
Sorry, I didn't say torrent. I said Tourette's is what I said. Oh shit.
Edit.
Beep.
No, I mean I'll say it. I don't care. But it's good if you want to sit there and Netflix and chill and just kind of watch what's on. If you want to watch what they're giving you, it's great. If you want to watch what you want to tell it to, that you want to see, there could be issues, is what I'm saying.
Right.
But see, Warren, you just got to it. And that's where the cord cutting is becoming cable TV. Because I've done some looking at this, and there are a couple packages, and we got 75 channels and we got 120 channels, and it's like, but I want 4. Okay, there are only about 4 or 5 channels that I really want. That's what I want to pay for. And I would be willing to pay a bit of a premium price to be able to do that. But instead, you've got to shove $75 down my throat to try to pull me in. And I admit, I'm a single guy. Okay, I don't have anybody else in the house, so I'm not the best case here. But if I could pick 4 or 5 channels and say, I'll pay you $30 a month, $25 a month, you'll have me forever. But as it is, I'm trying desperately to find ways not to pay $45, $50, $60, $70, $80, $90, $100, $200, Guy, a month. Stop and think about that. $200 a month, that's insane.
I had a thought of a solution would be like an organization or some kind of non-profit kind of thing that would take, or something where you would almost have a combination of, how do I even say, a conglomerate of people that you would pay in one place, maybe per usage or something like that, that had access to all the streaming content, and all the streaming content kind of joined together into an alliance where you just have this one app or this one place to go, and that could grab streams from anywhere that it's available at that point. And they could have some kind of pay model where you could pay for the time that you're watching it, or pay for, I don't know, but it's too fragmented is what it is. It basically everything it's fragmented. Everything that you want to watch is a project. So if somebody was out there and said, listen, we'll have, one kind of company that's controlled by all the various streaming companies together, that says, listen, you pay us through this company, we all get a share of the profit somehow. And basically...
Well, that's what they're doing now. That's what Hulu and Apple and YouTube and a lot of them are trying to do. But the problem is that there's a lot of the other companies don't want to play ball because they want the money to themselves.
Right, but there's too many of these services still that are big and have their own stuff. So I mean, if let's say Hulu, Netflix, and whatever, Apple TV and Amazon said, listen, enough of this, because people are getting frustrated with having to subscribe to all these services or switch around. We form an alliance and say, listen, we're introducing an app called, TV World, or whatever they want to call it. And you subscribe to that app, and maybe it's more expensive than, an individual service, but you have access to everything. And I think, come out with some way where they could have a pay structure. I think people will go for that. But, again, you're talking about monopolies, you're talking about competing services and things like that.
Yeah.
But, again, it's just right now, cord cutting is too complicated for the average person.
Okay, well, I just put a link in the show notes for a site called suppose.tv, which lets you select almost every single channel that's out there, and you can compare like all of the major services that are there to see if it has all of the channels that you like to watch.
Okay, let's
it's really a cool service.
All right,
Thank you.
We'll definitely. Yeah, thanks. We'll definitely check a look at that. Let's before we wrap things up here, I had 2 quick tips I wanted to put in here real quick. First one is and one of them is the ability to be able to sign iMessages to people and your colleagues when you can't take their call has always been I always like that feature. But I don't know if anybody knew, you actually can go in and customize the messages of your iPhone and avoid the usual, sorry, I can't talk right now. If you head to settings and you go to phone and then you select respond with text, you actually can go into those 3 responses and change them to what you want all the time. So like if you don't like I'm on my way, you could put something else in and customize it. Again, where I was talking about is if you go into settings, go into phone, and then scroll down until you find where it says respond with text under calls, you can change those responses when you can't answer the call. So I thought that was a cool tip. And then the other one, I I use this all the time. This is I always every night I have a headband, wireless headphone band. It's on my head when I to fall asleep to either news or music or podcasts. And you can go in and actually go into the clock and the timer, and you can choose how long your timer you want to do. Usually I do it for like 30 minutes. That's about how long it takes me to fall asleep. And then you press when timer ends. So then when you go into there and then you say stop playing. So start the timer. So after the 30 minutes, it stops playing the sound. It's one of my favorite features in the tip for anybody who likes to listen to music. I don't know if did you guys know any of those tips at all?
No, but I'm going to do auto respond with new phone. Who's this? On my response.
There you go. Who is this?
Leave me alone.
Leave me alone. All right. Before we wrap up, I wanted to mention MagStock 2021. There hasn't really been a lot of advertising about it, but I think I want to be one of the first to advertise and tell everybody. Virtual Macstock 2021 is going to be here. It's going to be on September 25th on a Saturday. Mike Potter's also putting together a VIP package where you actually could be in person with, of course, with the COVID restrictions and protections will be in place as well. But if you go to MagStock2021.com and go in and take a look, you can register for either the free Virtual Macstock, and you can be online and take a look at the show. And there's a couple other packages too, including the VIP. But it's limited to 60 people. It's in Chicago. So you'll be hearing more and more about this as Mike sends out more information. But I want to make sure everybody was aware of that. So hopefully you guys could be part of it, whether it be virtually or in person as well. Any thoughts on that before we close out the show?
Yeah, hopefully it'll be you, me, and Mike out there.
Yeah, let's hope.
Yeah.
So,
and no matter how you participate, whether you get to do it virtually or in person, it's a great event.
It really is.
I mean, it's a great community. It's a great event. It's too bad it got derailed a little bit here by COVID because it was really steadily building. So we want to make sure that we support everything Mike's doing, so he can continue to do it, and we will get hopefully back to normal next year, which we keep saying.
It's 2022.
Well, even last year's virtual event was so much fun.
Yeah, I'm going to say
that wild lobby they had was amazing.
I wasn't able to go for years. This is going to be my second year going. It's great.
So check that out. We'll have the link in the show notes how to get to that site, and we appreciate it, and I know Mike appreciates it as well. So let's go ahead and wrap things up for this week. That's a wrap for this week. Please send your comments, questions, suggestions to our email address, feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Twitter @intouchwithios. You can go to our YouTube page at youtube.com/DaveG65. You can subscribe and your favorite podcatcher, including Apple Podcasts and many others, including Pocket Casts. But better yet, go to our website at intouchwithios.com, where all the links to all the ways to listen to us are there. I'm Dave Ginsburg, and you can find me on Twitter @DaveG65. And Chuck Joyner, thank you so much for being here. Always a pleasure having you on the show. Where can people find you?
Hey, it's a lot of fun as always, David. I appreciate it. You can find me at macvoices.com. That's where you can see everything I do and everybody I'm talking to. We do Mac Voices live on YouTube, on Mac Voices TV on YouTube every Tuesday night at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. We'd love to have you join us in the chat room there.
Absolutely.
And on the socials, I'm at Chuck Joyner. Thanks again, David. Good to have you. Have me.
Have me.
Whatever.
Yeah,
whatever.
And our surprise guest for this week, unplanned but very pleasantly planned, because he had his new he had his new desk to set up, and he wanted to test it. So what the heck? We had him on the show, Mr. Guy Serle. Where can everybody find you?
Underpants. You can find me, Guy, at mymac.com is the email address, MacParrot and VertShark on Twitter. VertShark.com is the website. VertShark over at YouTube. Like, share, subscribe. That's all you got to do. And we have a Skype telephone number 1 or +1 outside the United States, 703-436-9501 to leave a comment.
Great.
Oh, mymac.com podcast. Oh, there's the other stuff that I do.
Important.
MyMac.com podcast I do with Gazmaz. the Mac of the Future live cast on Wednesday nights. So that I haven't talked to you guys about it. I may have to change that night pretty soon. And of course, Guy's Daily Drive.
You had to bring it up now.
I know. Where I record myself while I drive to work. It's very dangerous, and I don't know why I do it. And I shouldn't, but I do anyway. Thank you.
All right. Thanks for being here, Guy. We always love having you on the show. And
Thank
Warren, thanks for being here as always as the co-host. We really appreciate it. Anything exciting going on at Mac to the Future?
Everybody's talking about battery packs. No, we're not really. Normal discussions, but come join us. It's a Facebook group. Even if you hate what I say is, even if you hate Facebook, just come to that page and hang out if you want.
Yeah, join us.
Come join us. Mac to the Future is a webpage. Other than that, no. Thanks for having me. Thanks, Chuck, for coming. It's always fun.
Yes, and we appreciate you being here. And thanks for listening. Really appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed the show. We went a little long, but we had a lot of fun here, and I hope you enjoyed what you heard. And we'll talk again soon.